All right, guys, it's another episode of the Saturday Sanctuary. Thank you guys for tuning in. Been a little minute. A lot has happened. We're going to cover it all, but in a very quick amount of time. Talking about the college football playoff to be exact today. Of course, obviously, Alabama is the biggest story being left out. However you see it, however you chalk it up, they kind of didn't deserve to be in there by the standards of how the committee has been showing they will weigh the teams. Although Alabama technically was sitting in the top 12, but automatic bids took them out. How are you guys feeling today? You know you're already rocking with K-Will.
It's your boy GP.
It's your boy, no so case you ain't no so.
A clown. But y'all feeling good today?
Yeah, man.
I can't complain.
My dogs won in the SEC championship, so we get 3 weeks
Facts.
of rest.
Facts. And we needed 3 weeks of game planning, not rest,
Gotta go
baby.
get us an easy dub in Tampa at the Gasparilla Bowl.
Who y'all play?
I was about to say.
Oh.
Tulane? Oh, that's going to be a nice little game.
John Summerall? Yeah, okay.
That's going to be a good game. I mean, y'all have a formidable opponent. Y'all should go out there and try to whoop ass.
They should have gave us like
I will say, I do have a hot take about bowl season.
Already?
Nah, it's just about bowl season.
We ain't even started.
I know.
Go ahead.
But my hot take is now that there's a 12-team playoff, and in addition to what the transfer portal was already doing and whatnot, I think you're going to see an even lower precedent on bowl season. It depends on the school, obviously. Like, you got schools like Colorado, they said all their guys are playing, but I'll be interested to see some of these schools and how they react to it. Like
I mean, we can talk about that real quick. I feel like we should do the math on that first. Last year, I guess the important bowl games you had, technically 3?
New Year's 6. I mean, yeah, the New Year's 6 and the national championship.
Maybe
2 of them are used as semifinal games, but yeah.
Yeah, so we'll say 7 total, roughly 7. And technically, you gave yourself what now? You got 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. So, I mean, you gave yourself 4 extra games that people automatically are definitely going to care about. So,
I mean,
it kind of helps. I mean, we don't look at it as bowl games because they're, to us, it's the first round of the college football playoff. But technically, they would serve as bowl games.
Yeah.
So, quarterfinals is going to be December 31st, one game, and then you got January 1st for the other 3. Yeah. Semifinals is going to be January 9th and then January 10th. And then the championship will be January 19th. So they drew this out a little bit.
Yeah, like
just
10,
one.
Yeah, I'm saying, I think you get like 10
days.
10 days between each game.
Yeah, so they drew it out at 10 extra days. Not too bad. Which is cool. I like it. I mean, there's bowl games going on December 20th, usually. Mm-hmm. But we're not tapped in like we about to be tapped in. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to be – we usually don't get the luxury of seeing a Tennessee-Ohio State at a good season playing each other. In a bad season, we might see Tennessee play Ohio State in a bowl game. Not in a 10-2 season. We usually don't see them playing in a bowl game on December 20th that early. SMU, Penn State, we have marquee matchups or marquee programs, we'll say, playing – a week before Christmas, essentially. We usually don't get that. So I'll say I feel you, but I feel like we got to look at it as we can't take these first round games and not include them in bowl season. They are technically bowl games. So it technically elevates bowl season to me.
Yeah. I mean,
because you got to include them.
I'm always tapped into bowl season just because I am. Speaking of first game, I believe is this week. I think it's the Celebration Bowl starting Saturday.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think that typically starts off bowl season. I think Jackson State's in it, but I don't know the other program. I don't know who's in the MEAC. Who won the MEAC?
Is it not FAM?
FAM's in the SWAC now.
I mean, oh wow, they are.
Hold on.
Is it Tennessee? Hold on.
No,
Tennessee State's in the MEAC.
No, they're not. They might go back though.
Okay.
Hold on.
But while you look that up, I think, like we were just saying, a big thing about that is, you always end up watching whatever game comes before the game that you're actually trying to watch. Mm-hmm. So that will help some of these other games that are going on December 20th that aren't, Tennessee and Ohio State or a Penn State SMU. So that'll help those other games. It'll essentially make a day out of it. I'm already finna be hyped up to watch this Tennessee Ohio State game. I'm gonna just watch football all day. So I think that'll help bowl season all around. I feel it on your hot take, but I gotta push back with a hotter one. We can the first round games just elevated more bowl games. I mean, they technically got 4 marquee matchups, 4 big time bowl games out of expanding the playoff. Now that expanding it to 14 mess I've been hearing, that's absolutely crazy.
It's
Whatever.
unnecessary, but
it is unnecessary. It's dumb, but
that's because 12 was not necessary personally. But I will say this season was also very chaotic, so maybe the talent is more spread out amongst the country. So that's why teams may look more even. Like there's no dominant team. The closest one we probably have this year is maybe Oregon.
Yeah, and that's just because they're undefeated. Like I don't think anybody. I think you cannot discount being undefeated. So we can't. And I think everybody's been doing a good job of not saying Oregon is not a complete team, but we'll say they're the most complete team. We'll point out things that have happened, like last week against Penn State. I think Drew Eiler running, and them running the quarterback gave Oregon some trouble. So you can look at that as a weakness, and they kind of struggled. They struggled with it against Ohio State when they were actually having Will Howard take off and he was using his legs. They struggled against stopping that. It's hard to stop running quarterbacks in general, but they struggle with it. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and move on here. When it comes to the college football playoff, first 2 teams out, Alabama and Miami. Unfortunately for Alabama, they were technically in the top 12 teams in the nation. They were ranked number 11 by the College Football Playoff Committee. But due to auto bids, they got pushed down 1 spot because Arizona State won their conference and had to be in. They got pushed down another spot because Clemson ended up winning the ACC championship and SMU did not move, although they lost that game. They lost it close. They were down 17, fought back, and lost a close one. The committee decided not to move SMU. Do you feel like Alabama really has anything to talk about? I mean, Miami fans have been quiet. I think Miami fans also understand that they've had a cupcake schedule. I don't think Alabama had a cupcake schedule. I think they had, if you want to say it's not manageable, one level above not unmanageable, But considering the losses you had, it seems like your schedule is pretty manageable. When it comes to Alabama, do they have any reason or any gripe? Should they have anything to say?
I feel like realistic Alabama fans said no. They had nothing, no legs to stand on, honestly, because you lost to 2 6-6 teams.
Yep.
I could see if your losses were to better opponents, maybe, but you lost to 2 6-6 teams. Even though Vandy was relatively decent this year, Oklahoma was terrible compared to where they were expected to come in this year. And Vandy was picked or projected to be last in the conference. So, that is a better look, and they gave teams some scare. They beat y'all. They almost beat Texas. But when you compare them to other teams, even the teams that may not have played anybody, or you feel like a Notre Dame or an Indiana, whatnot, they didn't lose to 6-6 teams. Well, yeah. Notre Dame did. They lost to NIU, but that's a story for a different day.
Yeah, I think with Alabama, like you said, you lost to Oklahoma. I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, I think people – you didn't score a touchdown. So I think with the Vanderbilt game, I think people were giving – I don't even think – it was a little bit of people giving Alabama the benefit of the doubt, but also understanding and watching that game, Vanderbilt was playing a hell of a game.
Yeah, Vanderbilt was just better this year.
They were they're not a team that was going to be last in the conference.
Yeah.
They started off the year before they even got hot. They had 2 kind of lazy L's. They shouldn't have lost to Mizzou. In no way, shape, or form should they have lost to Georgia State. All shout out and love for Dale McGee. But Vanderbilt shouldn't have been losing to Georgia State. And then Mizzou, they lost a close one to Mizzou. Shouldn't have lost to Mizzou. But after that, everybody they lost to, they should have lost to. They lost to Texas. They lost to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Who else? They lost to South Carolina, lost at LSU. So for Vanderbilt, it's like outside of those 2 lazy L's at the beginning of the year, y'all lost every game y'all should have lost. So I think people also watched the games and saw that even when we talk about those 3 L's in a row they took at the end of the year, including Texas. So to end the year off, Vanderbilt lost by 3 to Texas. They beat Auburn. They got smoked by South Carolina, which we have gone on the record saying the last 4 or 5 weeks they're the hottest team in the country, not just in the SEC, the hottest team in the nation. And then LSU only lost by a touchdown. Tennessee, again, you only lost by a touchdown. Or no, I'm sorry. Tennessee, they lost by almost 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. But they kept it close most of the game.
They kept it close for yeah, that's why I almost said a touchdown. They kept it close for most of the game. They let it slip away. But they still fought hard. And at the end of the day, Vanderbilt has been a good team. It's oftentimes just look like they're not at the recruiting level as the other schools are, and they aren't. It shows that. It looks like a talent gap of a loss, if anything, not a lack of discipline. Go ahead.
I be hearing it. My thing with Alabama is the teams you lost to don't have good records. It's just that simple. You lost to unranked teams with not good record. You can use the whole eye test and be like, oh, they're a better team than you think, than their record says. In the same breath, Peasy, I was talking to our homeboy Peasy, he said that like yesterday on the phone. He was like, oh, but they Vanderbilt's, they're not a bad team. And I was like, yeah, but they're
6-6.
I think it's beyond Vanderbilt though, because they got the benefit of the doubt off the Vanderbilt game. So I don't even want to hear nobody's tripping off the Vanderbilt loss. We watched the game. Vanderbilt's a good team. No, they're still 6-6. It is what it is, but that's not what kept y'all out the playoffs. It's plain and simple. It's Oklahoma, who is not a good team.
Y'all lost to Oklahoma after that.
That's not a good team.
I'm just saying. I'm just using it as a point of like I'm not even giving benefit of the doubt for even Vanderbilt. Because Vanderbilt lost to Georgia State. So I mean, if we using that eye test, rule, then we be like, oh well, Georgia State beat Vanderbilt. They could beat y'all. Like
I'm not giving them benefit of the doubt of the Vanderbilt, but I'm saying more so like the college football playoff committee, they did. Y'all were still in the top 12 after y'all lost Vanderbilt. So it's on y'all, dog. Like the Vanderbilt loss, if y'all don't lose to Oklahoma, nobody has to talk about this. Not only do we not have to talk about this, Georgia's not Georgia's not the SEC champion. Yeah. They're not in the SEC championship game to be the SEC champion.
Yeah.
So
Bama ruined their entire season. Honestly.
They did. It's all on y'all. Y'all literally, they were in a place where our destiny is in our hands.
Yep.
And it was on y'all, and y'all messed it up. So it's nothing they can do. I feel more sorry for maybe an Ole Miss or somebody like that who, you know what I'm saying, they carried their season out. It's just unfortunate. But I mean, granted, technically they didn't carry their season out. But
I mean, it's they had better losses, but it's also again who you lost to. Like
I don't even want to.
Because
they have better losses.
Ole Miss losing to Kentucky is nasty. I'm not gonna sit here in front.
No,
they got smoked. I think they either got smoked by Kentucky or lost badly at home to Kentucky. Losing to LSU in overtime at night, I can kind of understand that one a little bit, and then I cannot for the life of me remember
the Florida game. You can't lose. You can't lose that game.
You can't lose to Florida, and that's no disrespect.
And Florida's rolling.
Yeah,
but you can't lose that game.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Florida obviously played better down the stretch and was really good down the stretch. But you cannot lose that game to Florida. You just cannot. I'm sorry. Like, especially with what you knew what Florida did all year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it matters what Florida did. Florida wasn't in the college football playoff talks, so you can't lose to them.
You can't lose.
And even if they were, you can't lose that game. You can't lose that game. You can't lose it unless Florida was a 2-loss, or not even a 2-loss. If Florida was a 1-loss team, maybe you can lose that game. Maybe you can get away with it. But nah, you can't lose that game, man. It doesn't matter if Florida's rolling. We could consider them to be the second hottest team in the nation, or definitely the second hottest team in the SEC at that time. Doesn't matter. You can't lose that game. Sorry. You got to win it.
I feel like if Florida, if they beat Florida, there's more of a conversation of maybe there's a conversation of like, do I put Ole Miss in over Tennessee, or do we then possibly keep SMU out for?
I mean,
Ole Miss maybe
I mean,
they would have more of a
again,
leg to stand on.
again
But you
though,
lost.
again though, Georgia would not be the SEC champion.
Yeah, oh,
Ole
agreed.
Miss would be in the SEC championship. So
Yeah, agreed.
that changes a lot. It changes a lot. Point blank. Period. You make the SEC championship game, you're in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
You did it because you lost. You wanted to lose to Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama. You wanted to go lose to Oklahoma. Smoked by Oklahoma, not lose. You want to get smoked by Oklahoma. So that's that. But moving on here, of course, obviously we're looking at the bracket here, and SMU is the team. No matter how you want to chalk it up, reason wise, whether it's the auto bids or SMU playing a tight one against ACC, SMU is the team that got picked over Alabama, essentially. When we're looking at, let's just look at the teams that are going on the road this upcoming first round, I guess. Not this upcoming weekend. I wish it was this weekend, but next weekend. If we're looking at those teams, we got Clemson going on the road to Texas, Tennessee going on the road to Ohio State. Of course, we got SMU going on the road in the cold all the way from Texas to Penn State. And then we got Indiana staying in state, a rival they haven't played in, I think, 10 plus years, but staying in-state rivalry could be. It could, if it's a good game, they could revive that. I don't understand why they actually don't play now. I'm thinking about how prestigious of a school Indiana is when it comes to sports, and then Notre Dame, obviously a prestigious school, and y'all are in the same state. Y'all don't. That sounds like a game that should be played. Maybe that'll be the game that replaces Notre Dame USC, since Lincoln Riley is, for lack of better words, scared. So when we're looking at those teams going on the road right there, essentially, who do y'all see potentially doing the upset, getting the upset there? 12 over 5, 9 over 8, 11 over 6, maybe 10 over 7. Who do y'all see there?
I see a lot of narratives out there about 12 getting that upset win over 5. And I don't know where all the false hope in Clemson came from. But, I mean, I'm not going to say I have false hope in Texas. I mean, they just keep losing to Georgia. That's the only team they lose to. So I don't see Clemson being able to pull that out. You were in too close of a game with SMU for it to even like.
They was beating SMU and then they just let SMU come back. That was Dabo not putting his foot on their throat, in my personal opinion, from what I saw in that game. They had plenty of opportunities too, but they just let SMU stick around.
I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry, GP.
I was saying, and I highly doubt that was on purpose, because obviously Clemson was playing for their playoff lives, truthfully. But,
absolutely.
But I don't know. Texas is a more talented team for sure. Like, I'm gonna give you that
for certain. I think it can come down to, this isn't what I believe, but just based off of the people, the broadcasters or journalists or experts that I've heard thinking that Clemson has a chance. I think it comes down to, for them, when Dabo's motivated, Dabo is similar to Kirby in this, right? Yeah. He likes to be the underdog. He's going to make his team think they're the underdog. Yep. You ain't got to trick your team being the underdog. Y'all are the underdog. Y'all should be doubted, and y'all are being doubted. Y'all are the 12th seed, bro. But I think, if anything, people are just looking at it that way. They think Dabo is going to have his team motivated, and Dabo himself is going to be motivated. I just personally, again, I don't think they are talented enough at the quarterback position to do that, unless Quinn Ewers continues to throw out that bullshit that he's been coming out doing. And if Texas doesn't make that change, I think, then Clemson has a chance, because Quinn Ewers, if it wasn't for me seeing him play at a high level before, he essentially beat Cade Klubnik. Like, he'd be looking that bad. And Cade Klubnik has never looked great, so that's why I'm ragging on him. Quinn Ewers has looked great before, and not just for a couple games, for an entire season, he's looked great. So, similar, not to compare him to Carson Beck, but it's just like, we see one thing last year and then we see another thing this year. Quinn Ewers, we see one thing last year, we see another thing this year, but we wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt because we don't think you're healthy. But it's like, if you're really not that healthy, what is going on with the, I guess with the coaching staff, and why we aren't putting Arch in? And we can actually go into that. Do we think we'll see Arch coming up? I do think it's possible, but at the same time, I think we also have to keep in mind coaches don't make these changes for a reason.
Yeah,
We've seen Arch he makes turnovers too. He's made turnovers against teams that aren't good when he was playing. So I think there's always a reason why certain players don't play. But I think Quinn Ewers has I think there's no way we don't see him. Quinn Ewers
has done enough.
I have two quick comments. So
put him on the bench.
I'm gonna rewind a little bit. The Clemson thing, I think also people feel Dabo probably may have a chance simply due to the fact that he's the most experienced person in the playoff. Technically, like it's technically him and then Kirby because he's been in more playoffs than Kirby. I think because I think he's been in like 6 or 7 of them. I think it's like Nick Saban, Clemson, and then maybe Ohio State and Georgia.
Do y'all believe in that stuff?
I mean, experience. You've been there. My thing is, you know what to expect, so you know how to get your mind right. The difference is,
I think it's about prep. If anything,
I was saying the difference is this time. This is very new for everybody. I think come quarterfinal, maybe semifinal time, whoever is there, they may know what to expect more if you have a more experienced coach. But we have a lot of unexperienced coaches in this situation. But
the only people that know how to do this right here are the teams that end up playing bowl games this
early. Like I mean, that part. But I was just saying, like in terms of the
hype, the energy.
Prepared for like this win or go home game. It's Clemson, Georgia. I might throw Steve Sarkisian in there because they did this last year. I can't throw anybody else in there right now.
Yeah, you can't.
I can't. Not even Dan Lanning because
I was about to say maybe anything.
Yeah, maybe him because he's been in this situation as a defensive coordinator with Georgia twice, but once, excuse me. But I don't know. But then to move to your Arch thing, I don't know. I think they should. I'm not saying they should make a switch. I do think Sark should have more packages for Arch. If we look at what happened in the SEC championship, Arch only played like 1 snap, and it was in overtime, and it was like a QB run. I don't know what he watched on film.
No, he played another snap. The ball didn't go to him though. It was a direct snap to the running back.
2 snaps. I'm sorry. But if you look at what Georgia Tech, I don't know what film work was going on. I'm not saying that like they maybe thought like they could throw all over the yard, and that's not no disrespect to Quinn. Quinn had like 350. Like I've been arguing with people that Quinn, in my opinion, played a really good game. But I think if I'm Steve Sarkisian when I was playing Georgia, I would have had more packages with Arch in because we struggle with mobile quarterbacks. Arch is very mobile. And I think moving forward with this playoff scenario, he might need to bring Arch in more on certain packages because obviously Arch can throw, but like you might need to have some QB runs mixed in as you're attempting to move through this bracket as well. And like I said, it's winner go home at this point. So like if you're down 10 points, maybe 2 touchdowns, you might have to make that switch immediately at this point. Like you can't wait. Like you played Georgia and you was down 23-0 and you ain't really try to make that switch. You did kind of, but it wasn't super effective. You might actually have to make that switch a lot earlier this time.
Yeah. I think it's something. It's a reason why they're not doing it. And the reason could be, hey, we're gonna make the playoff regardless. Once we get in the playoff, like you said, this is a win or go home scenario. We could see Arch Manning get put out there. Probably not as a starter, but second half, game is looking tight, 6-9, like the Georgia game, things like that. Again, we're talking about a Clemson who has a very formidable defense, and I think you have to switch things up. And it's not even just Georgia, but essentially, definitely after seeing what Georgia Tech did, you can't run the ball like them. You can't play call like that. But to fit the Texas scheme, but you see that is a problem for anybody to stop a running quarterback, especially a running quarterback that has an arm. You know, he's made some mistakes in the games that he's played, and he is young. But Arch is 6'4", and he's 225, if I'm not mistaken. So
he's pretty solid.
He can take it on. Los, how do you feel about the chances for your guy Arch Manning to get put into that game? Where do you see that happening?
I think if Quinn Ewers starts off like he did against Georgia again, maybe he wasn't necessarily bad, but it was just stagnant. It's like you don't have any.
You know what it was? They couldn't score in the red zone. That's really the problem. They stalled out.
You got to switch it up.
But they've stalled out in the red zone like the last 4 weeks. I don't think they've scored over 20 points in their last 3 games.
But you know who's the quarterback? You know who did score when they get in that game? I mean, I don't want to say much. I don't want to make it just seem like it's just jokes, but Arch literally is. He does stuff when he gets in the game. Like it's just like get a boy a chance, get a little boy's ball back.
Yeah, Quinn wasn't too bad. I mean, he was definitely not that great, 27-46, but that defense was killing. I mean, it wasn't all on him. Our defense, they were killing. So at the end of the day, I think Sark probably just thought about it like this: we're going to the playoff regardless. Like Kirby even said it. It's easy to call that fake punt that worked and it was the best play of the game or the play of the game. He said verbatim, it's easy to call that when you know you're going to the playoff regardless.
Yep.
So Sark, it's easy to keep Arch on the bench healthy and just rock and ride with your starting quarterback that's been your guy and has been great before versus bringing in the freshman and potentially ruining his confidence, or also, you win the game, you win the SEC championship, but now you put some stuff on film as far as what you're going to do with him. So you could just save that for a win or go home scenario, like going against Clemson. But I think Clemson going on the road to Texas, if Texas lose that game, I don't know what kind of problem they have, but they got to figure it out because that's just insane. That environment they have, and y'all let Clemson come down there that is clearly under-talented when it comes to you. There's no reason why that should happen. What team out of these 4 games do y'all see getting that upset, though, in y'all's opinion? I know people have talked about Clemson getting the upset. Who do y'all really see getting the upset if you had to put your money on it?
Probably Tennessee. I could see Clemson with a good game plan. The problem is I don't think Clemson runs the ball enough well on Texas, and Texas' defense is really elite. So I would probably have to go with Tennessee. I think that game will be super cold, and I think Dylan Sampson is really tough to bring down. And Tennessee still does have a system that can work. I think the problem with that is with the Tennessee-Ohio State game is I'm just curious which Nico shows up, which Hypo shows up, and which Nico shows up. That's really the thing.
It's definitely going to be a cold game. It's going to be at 8 p.m. So it's going to be cold for sure. And like you said, I think they have a game plan that could work. I almost want to say this game could potentially, of course, we want to give Nico another year, but it could potentially show Nico just being overrated because nobody would have guessed he looked like this.
Late, yeah. I mean,
he's only a sophomore.
Yeah, he's only a sophomore technically. So this is.
But you were the number 1 quarterback.
This is only his first year starting.
But you were there all last year.
He was. But I'm just saying, it's only his first year starting. He's still relatively new to this.
Yeah.
But to your point, later in the season, you're supposed to progress. Where people no funny shit. People should be talking about him as the number 1 pick going into next season. But obviously that's not the case right now. He has a lot of growing to do before he's shown to that conclusion.
I think he's shown flashes of being a formidable quarterback. He's shown no flashes of being, a great quarterback, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, first quarterback off the board type of guy. He hasn't shown any of that. He's just shown nothing wrong being a game manager, like Cam Newton said. It's not a disrespect, but he's shown flashes of being a great game manager or a good game manager. And nobody thought the number 1 quarterback in the nation would be that. But we'll see coming up. But we'll go through real quick. What are our picks looking like? Just early picks, no dissecting necessarily of these games. I know Los is definitely taking Texas there. I'm also go Texas just because regardless of how motivated Dabo may be, it's Texas at home. It's going to be playing Texas on the road. I think that they're not going to take another home L like that.
Hey, I got Texas in that game too. I just think their defense is really good. They probably got a top 3 defense in this entire thing.
They do.
Honestly.
I think they're top on paper, and I think when they play Georgia, they be showing like they really do what needs to be done a lot of times. And a lot of those guys are seniors, so I think it's gonna be kind of scary if they don't get them wins this year, get these wins that they need this year, because you're not gonna have the same turnover on that defense like you did from last year to this year.
There's no Jade Barron. There's no, I don't know if Michael Taft will be
Yeah,
there anymore. Like they got guys that, especially on the back end, in that
yeah,
secondary.
that too. Los, you sticking with Texas first game?
I'm definitely sticking with Texas. There's absolutely no way that they go out there and lose to Clemson. I'm not sold on that Clemson team at all. I'm not sold on Klubnik. I'm not sold on anything about that team.
I feel you on Klubnik. I can't say I'm not sold on anything. I think they again do have some talented young wideouts.
Yeah, they got
I'm
some
not
good
sold
wide
on.
receivers.
I'm not sold on
That's why
anything
it'll be
about that
interesting
team
to win
against an SEC team.
Okay. I got you. I think one thing, Dabo is not budging. Well, we don't know, but it doesn't seem like he's budging on the transfer portal. He does not have the quarterback position figured out, but they somehow keep getting these talented wide receivers. And of course, we'll look at Tennessee going to Ohio State. How do we see that one faring out? Just quick picks. Feel free to change your pick when we do the deep dive. Feel free to pick Tennessee for right now and get yelled at by Evan. And then when you try to change your pick because you've done more research, he tells you to stay on that side. But go ahead.
I feel like I want to pick Tennessee. I think Ohio State's the better team. I'm curious how or if they can corral Dylan Sampson right now. And like I said, this will be interesting to just see who preps better, I think.
Yeah, that's real.
And this is going to be one of them games. I think this is the game in particular that everybody's like really got their eyeballs on. Because I will say, I think Tennessee is actually probably one of the teams that actually probably can win the national championship. Honestly, they have a decent enough defense. Defense travels typically, and they have a good run game as well. So yeah, I'm gonna say
I think personnel wise, they are a team that can win the national championship. But I'm gonna go Ohio State. I just haven't seen enough from Tennessee to. I just haven't seen enough from Tennessee to think that they're gonna take this time to be in a place where they're gonna come out better prepared than Ohio State. I think
the pressure is really on Ohio State to win.
Yeah, the pressure's on Ohio State. I just think that I'm more so just going to take Ohio State because they're more talented. Mm-hmm. I think both of them have average coaches, but I think one average coach, Ryan Day, has way more talented players than the other average coach in Josh Heupel. So I'm going to just take Ohio State. They're just more talented. That defense is more talented. Quinshawn, he's more talented than Dylan Sampson. He's not hard to bring down. I don't think they give Quinshawn the ball enough. But I think that offense have a chip on their shoulder. I still don't necessarily believe in Will Howard, but I do believe in their backfield, and I believe in those wide receivers. I think they'll draw some great things up, and they're just a more talented team. I'm gonna have to take Ohio State. If they lose that game,
yeah, I know you're gonna go crazy. I already know. My X factor though for that game is the defensive line of Tennessee going up against some of the backups for Ohio State.
Yeah, I can't see another situation where, as talented as that offense is, no matter how talented the defense and the defensive line you go up against, I can't see another situation where they don't dominate. They have to. I know the offensive line is new and mixed match. You got a little time to get healthy. You didn't play in the conference championship game. So technically you had 2 full weeks of nothing. Then you got a third week that will be the you'll have a third week going into that December 20th game. So I don't think there's a way. You got to figure it out. That offensive line better act like the starting unit in their hearts by the time it's time to go. And Tennessee's defensive line is definitely talented, and the defense is talented. But y'all at the crib. Like, I'm not saying Ohio State should blow them out. Y'all just should win. Y'all just should win. I don't think I'll change that.
That's real. I mean,
and I'm also banking on Ohio State's defense doing what needs to be done. I just don't see Nico making any leaps and bounds in the next couple of weeks. So I just think Ohio State's defense is very talented. They are suspect on the outside with those DBs sometimes. But again, I just don't see Nico making leaps and bounds to where he can challenge them. But of course, we'll see. Los?
I'm not sold on Tennessee overall offensively. They've played some okay teams. I haven't really seen them do anything exceptional against a good team that makes me say, "Oh, yeah, they could be a problem in you know in the playoffs or in against a big team." So I'm going Ohio State, even though Ohio State did sell against Michigan. Um, I don't believe the whole oh, it's a rivalry game. It's gonna be no. Ohio State just sold themselves. They need a new kicker. No credit to Michigan.
They need to lock in.
They need to lock in. They do need a new kicker, but they do need to lock in. They do need to lock in.
You can't. My thing is with this one in particular. This one has too many narratives attached to it. There's the we can't be the SEC team narrative. There's the SEC team coming up into cold weather, beating us narrative. There's the we spent $20 million on our roster and we lost in the first round, possibly narrative. Like these are all bad. Like you actually cannot lose this game.
Yeah, you're in no way, shape, or form
you cannot lose this game.
You're not the underdog. You're not close to being an underdog.
Yeah,
I'm sure the line is. I'm sure the line has came out. I haven't looked yet.
I think it has.
But at the end of the day, ain't no reason they should lose this game. I got you.
Right now,
check.
Bovada
What do you look at?
Oh,
you're looking at Bovada. Cool. And GP Jackson State plays South Carolina State.
Bovada has a spread at 7 for Ohio State right now.
Yeah, like
7. I think it's 7.5. I see 7.5 for ESPN. I think it should be higher than that, but whatever. I think that at the end of the day, there is no reason why you should lose this game. I think Josh Heupel has, like you said, the SEC can't go up into the cold, yada, yada, yada. I just don't think they are the SEC team that can go up there and go do that. But, hey, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I just don't think they're too almost above average at everything. I think Nico is clearly very average. The pass game is very average. The run game, your running back is above average. The O-line is not. So I just don't feel like they have enough to just go up to Columbus, Ohio, and be the underdog and win it and take it home. But, of course, that's why we play the game. We'll see. I'll be watching 8 o'clock. That'll be on December 20th. Then we also have SMU, Penn State. How do y'all see that one faring out? I can give you mine very quick. I think Penn State's going to handle business.
I definitely think Penn State handles business. I think it might be a little closer than we expect for some reason.
I mean, they got the line at 9, Penn State. I'll take the 9.
I agree. That game is going to be closer than it needs to be. But
I don't even want to say closer than it needs to be. I think SMU has shown they're a good team. I don't want to say needs to be, but I think it'll be closer than maybe something.
Needs to be is probably the wrong language. But I think Ryan Day and James Franklin are closer in appearance than they need to be.
Yeah, I got you.
Neither one of them. It's just, bro, everybody's like, neither one of y'all can win the big game. Like, I was shocked Penn State kept it close at the end.
Against Oregon?
Absolutely. They was getting rolled. At first, they was getting rolled. I'm not going to front.
Yeah, I think they had to get the nerves out of them. I told you, I think that they could, the way they kept it close. Handling the run game. That's how you beat Oregon if they were going to do it. They kept it close. They couldn't get the win. Yeah, but I told you, they got to win. They run the ball. They started running the ball very effectively. The game was close. But at the end of the day, Penn State, bro, y'all play SMU and y'all play Boise State. Y'all have the easiest path to the semifinals, and it's no debate.
Yes, agreed.
No debate.
Hands down.
And we got Indiana going to Notre Dame.
Wait. Who has the easiest road?
I think Penn State has the easiest road.
Penn State probably has the easiest road to the semifinals.
I mean, I guess if you think Notre Dame and Indiana's that good.
The only other one is possibly Texas, but like,
nigga, what? I'm sorry. Do we think Indiana and Notre Dame is good?
I think Notre Dame is straight, but I think either regardless. All right, so
I think it's like this.
They playing a backup quarterback in Georgia.
Yeah, it's like we don't. I think people are saying they don't know what Carson Beck's not playing, dog. He's not playing. We're gonna have a new quarterback.
They already said he's not playing in the Sugar Bowl.
Man, we seen Gunner. Gunner will be fine.
He will. TBD.
Gunner will be fine. I'm saying that because I'm a fan. He loves the G, and I think the biggest thing with Gunner, and we'll talk about this in our breakdowns. Biggest thing with Gunner is I will say it means more to him to play for Georgia than it does for Carson Beck. I think it's similar to Stetson. It meant a lot to Stetson. JT was a great quarterback, but the team was behind Stetson versus JT because it meant a lot to Stetson. I think that's Gunner's edge, and he got the legs, and clearly us having a mobile quarterback always will help us more, especially considering we haven't been able to be that consistent with the run game. We are more consistent when he was in, and for I don't know, maybe our receivers. I think it seemed like the team rallied behind him, so hopefully they'll have some fucking pride and pick their nuts up and stop dropping goddamn passes.
David Pollack even said this actually. He was like,
"What about Gunner meeting it?" He really,
well, he was just like, Carson is a better quarterback, but he was just like, Carson is very like this. He was like, he's very level-headed and very emotionless. He does not get too high. He does not get too low. He was like, you'll see him laughing on the sideline. Not that it's a bad thing. He was just like, shit don't really get him down. He was like, you look at Gunner just plays with more juice. He was like, he's not as talented, but he clearly plays with more juice. He was like, for some guys on the team, that is very inspiring. He was like, like the first play, he ran somebody over after he got the first down.
Yeah, it was only like a he didn't get the first down on that play. No, he didn't get the first down. He only got 3 yards. You talking about on the sideline?
Yes, I'm telling you,
he only got 3 yards. He only got 3 yards, but it was just a big play because he ran him over. He had to run. He got the first down before that. I'm gonna go back and look at the play-by-play.
I swear he got the first down and ran him over.
I'm gonna go look at the play-by-play, but Indiana Notre Dame. We'll talk about Georgia.
Indiana Notre Dame. I feel like Notre Dame is the better team. This will be more of a situation where I think people will question whether Indiana is actually good, and Indiana has a big chance to prove to us that they're actually like that. And because Kirk Cignetti was talking cash shit too. I don't know if y'all peeped this. He's in
recently. I didn't peep.
Bro, yes. So they interviewed. Obviously, they interviewed all the coaches after the selections or during the selections and whatnot. So he's like, basically he was upset that they weren't hosting a home playoff game.
You're right. GP, it was 3rd and 1. I thought he did that after the pass he completed to Arian Smith. I thought he ran it.
Yeah, he ran for a first down and ran over somebody.
Yeah, it was.
But Kersey that he was talking. So far? I have no clue. He was talking cash shit, and I'm like, I like it from him, but it's also like, you're not at Alabama or talking cash shit, bro. You're at Indiana. Like, everybody does, and I get it. Everybody this whole year has kind of been discrediting you guys, even though y'all been smacking everybody that y'all played. But the one team that you played that is actually still in this playoff, you got smoked by.
Facts.
So it's like, how good are you? And you said, all right, we've beaten ranked teams. In my personal opinion, Illinois ain't that good for y'all to claim that as a ranked win, but y'all are able to, whereas others may not, or others cannot. Like Texas has no ranked wins.
Wait, you said who? That's not. You said Indiana. You said Illinois.
Illinois is currently ranked.
That's not their. They didn't play Illinois.
Oh God.
They don't have a ranked win. Nebraska was ranked at one time, right?
I swear Indiana has a ranked win. Like he literally went and broke this down. That's how upset he was.
No, I'm not saying they don't have one, but I'm trying to figure out who it was. Was Nebraska was ranked at one time, right?
Maybe earlier in the season. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, but this is as of this exact moment right now, they have no teams that they beat that are ranked today in the top 25. But as far as my pick for that one, I'm going to take the black man. I'm gonna take Notre Dame just because it's the black man, I guess. But
they're the better team.
They are the better team. They're definitely the best. I'll say what really makes me take them is they're a very good defense. Indiana struggled against Ohio State. I think Notre Dame's defense is similar to Ohio State, but their DBs are more of who they are supposed to be versus Ohio State, who their DBs claim to be, they have not shown up to be. But they did that day against Indiana. For at least a half, they showed up. So I see Notre Dame. Their physical defense. I think the defense itself can slow down what they got going on offensively at Indiana. I think Notre Dame also will figure some stuff out, figure out some wrinkles to get that offense more consistent under Riley Leonard. But I think regardless, they'll be good. They'll be fine. I think Notre Dame wins that one. But at the same time, Kurt's been talking junk. I think he has confidence in his team and himself and his game plan. And like people have said already before, quote unquote, I don't like it, but everybody's played bad in their first big game of the season. Okay. Unfortunately, Ohio State was their first big game of the season, and it didn't come until almost the end of the season. However, you got to be ready for that. But hey, not only first big game of the season, first big game for that program in a long time. So I think they have a big opportunity to shut a lot of people up, or not even shut a lot of people up, get people to talk about them more in a positive light. So we'll see. Yeah. Los, what's your pick on that one?
I got Notre Dame winning it. I don't think Indiana. I'm still not sold on Indiana. It just don't do it for me, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Yeah, I honestly see like 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that Florida can be in here over, but that's just. I mean, just I'm not saying we should be in here. Obviously, we've lost a lot of games, but as just looking as a team, like these guys could be in it. I could be like my team could be in it for sure because I ain't seen Indiana play anybody and do anything exceptional. I mean, they beat the dog doo-doo out of Nebraska, but
yeah, that's true. And Ohio State struggled with Nebraska, so
I'm to just hang that little thing up because the kid is just not Pat Mahomes. Like it's just
it was.
I'd be interested to see how they stop the run. Notre Dame's best attribute this year is running the football.
Yeah.
And I think Indiana's best attribute on defense is stopping the run, from what I've seen and picked up on. So that's kind of like strength on strength a little bit. Indiana's offense is pretty good, but Notre Dame got one of the better secondaries as well in the country.
Absolutely.
Well, so
I think the game could be a lot. I think the game could be a lot close. I think it could be close. I don't want to say a lot closer than people think. I don't know what people think about this one necessarily, but I think the game could be close. I think it could be a great game. I think the only game that could be a disappointment is between Penn State and SMU and Texas and Clemson. I think both of those could end up being lopsided out of nowhere. But I think that Tennessee and Ohio State game and the Indiana and Notre Dame game are going to be close. I think they're going to be good. It may be still one of those teams can win by 10, 13, 14 points, but still be a great game. So we'll see.
I could see that game being a lot closer because I don't know if Notre Dame has really played an offense as good as
Indiana's. Facts. That's all I'm gonna say. Like that game will probably be a lot closer than expected. But I think knowing Kurt Cinetti, he is talking cash shit, but I think he's like, we're going to shock these dudes out the gate, I think. And it was kind of funny. I think they interviewed Marcus Freeman, and he was like, he had to Google who Kurt Cignetti was. So it's like, I don't want to say they're both disrespecting each other, but like, they kind of are.
Hyping it. They probably trying to hype the game up. It's an NC's rivalry. I pray this game is good, so maybe Notre Dame has a good opponent to replace USC.
I'm gonna tell you who finna be pen to pad with his watching them. Kirby Smart.
Absolutely. But hey, we'll talk about that and talk about who they should want to face. We'll talk about that at a later date. Last thing before we get out of here, big piece of conversation or a big topic that has been the piece of the conversation has been about the auto bids, how essentially due to the auto bids and no reseeding at any point during the playoff, you have a situation where Oregon is set to potentially have the hardest path. Potentially. Depends on the, who wins that game and matchups and all that stuff. Oregon looks like they're having a tougher time versus an Arizona State, versus, a Boise State, essentially. and even maybe Georgia. At the end of the day, it looks like being the number 1 seed, you potentially are at least in the argument for having the hardest first game. Do we feel like they should get rid of auto bids altogether next year?
Well, they're probably not going to get rid of them next year. I think.
Or when we're saying auto, or not auto bids necessarily, or you can tell me if you think they should get rid of auto bids, period, for conference champions, or should they just not make them get, or should they not automatically get that first week bye?
I slick think they should get rid of auto bids, but the buy is fine, actually, to me. It's the auto bid buy that I think they need to get rid of that. Because bid.
Are you saying they should get rid of the buys for the auto bid, or they should get rid of them altogether? No auto bids at all. Because I mean, they could do auto bids. You automatically get in.
Auto bids. The buys for the auto. Actually, I'm gonna take that back. Auto bids are fine. I think if you win your conference, that's you get into the playoff. That's fine. That's actually that's the only reason Clemson's in. I think you should get rid of the buy though as an auto bid, because realistically, we're looking at this: Boise State, Arizona State. Are they top 4 seeds? TBD, obviously, but is that really better than Texas? Is that really better than Notre Dame? Is that better than Ohio State? Probably not.
Yeah.
As teams, I think that's a little unfair. And then I think you mentioned also the reseeding aspect. I do think that they should get like the NFL, and they should honestly reseed after the first round. But will that happen? I don't know. It's something that the committee needs to look into. Committee needs to look into.
I think you just have to do one or the other. I think you have to either get rid of the auto bid buys, or you have to go reseeding. You could go both. I think getting rid of one or doing one could fix a lot of things, because nobody trips if y'all reseed. Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say nobody
here. Nobody trips.
Nobody would trip if anybody reseeded, but if you did, you could still do both, and everybody would be like, "All right, fine, cool, whatever."
Yeah, you can do both, but at minimum, you need to do one, because in this situation, if you kept the auto bid buys, and it's just the conference champions, the top 4 conference champions get a bye, but if we're reseeding, there's no way Oregon's either playing a Clemson in a upset, they're playing a SMU in an upset, they're playing they're playing Indiana, Point Bay, period, in an upset. And if it's not any upsets, then all right, they're playing Ohio State. Dang, are they still playing Ohio State?
No, if there's a
they would be. If there was if there was no upsets, all favored, they would still be playing the HC, because that would be the lower. But that's their fault on these seedings too. So that's why it's you kind of do have to. Yeah,
that's another conversation. You're
probably right.
I didn't like the way they seeded these games either. For real.
Yeah, that's real.
There's been a major point that all right, I'll take it for example, 5 seed Texas. Texas, I think they're 5 seed top 4/5 seed talented. However, you don't have any ranked wins. You did have, I guess, a ranked win when you beat Texas A&M, but when you went into the SEC championship, they weren't ranked.
Yeah.
So, are they better than a Penn State who only had 1 loss, even though similar situation?
I think they are, but I think the bigger thing would be, it's just you got to get rid of the conference championship top 4 automatic. I think it's just that, because if you get rid of that, we see the top 4 just off of rankings. Of course, you can kick Alabama out if you want, all that, whatever, cool. But if we still just go buys are only for those 1 through 4 seeds, Penn State earned their bye by losing, whatever, all that stuff, cool. And Texas is getting a bye, Georgia's getting a bye, Oregon's getting a bye. So at that point, then if you do the situation where you have reseeding, then Oregon would be in that position. They would be, who would the AFC be? Indiana. That's cool.
Well, I'll say that. Ohio State wouldn't be an 8 seed in this instance. They'd be.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think you should do it. Keep those top 12 teams. If you are not top 12, then you know how they jumped Arizona State to 4, but Clemson only jumped to 12. They were 16, they jumped to 12. All right. So technically in this case, Arizona would move up to 11. Clemson would be 12. Boise State would be. They wouldn't even be 10.
No,
They would be 9.
Yeah,
SMU would be 10.
Yeah, SMU's 10.
So that's cool. So it's like at that point, your highest favorite team is Indiana. I'm cool with that. Then your second highest favorite team is Tennessee. Then your third highest favorite team that matches up, kinda. Yeah. I think Notre Dame and Ohio State. If we talking talent, and even I just haven't seen. I think we'll see a lot this week. I mean, next weekend. I just haven't seen enough for Notre Dame to feel like they really. I don't know if I can say they're better than Ohio State. Like actually better. Like actually for real.
I just think that like. To your point, what you just mentioned, a matchup of like Ohio State would be 6, and then they'd have to match up with Arizona State at basically 11.
Yeah, and that's fine. That makes sense.
And then they'd have to, the winner of that game has to play Texas. Makes more sense than what is currently going on.
Yeah, Penn State, SMU, and it's weird.
Yeah, like an 8-9 of Indiana and Boise State having to play Oregon, like that's more fair, I think, to Oregon.
Yeah, Indiana versus Boise. Yeah, that's way more fair to Oregon. Yeah. I think the Georgia one is fair as is, but in that case, it would be in their case it would be Tennessee going against SMU.
Yeah,
and I think they would have moved Tennessee. They would have did something to keep that from being that though. Yeah, they probably would have did Tennessee versus. They probably would have dropped Tennessee to 8, put Indiana at 7.
Yeah. I do think they tried their hardest to avoid immediate rematches.
Exactly. Who the hell wants to see? I don't want to see any of these people that have played each other play each other again. At least not in the first round, bro.
Yeah. But
second round, if it has to happen, okay. But even with these teams, I don't want to see that because you've seen such a. I don't want. All of those are big games. Tennessee is Georgia's rival. Penn State is Ohio State's rival. Ohio State playing Oregon in the second round, that's not their rival. That's just, hey, y'all got to go beat them again. I think it would be different if they lost to them in the Big Ten championship. It'd be different. I think they would have steered away from it. But with that being said, Los, are you cool with the auto bids? You can take us out with this one. How would you want to line it up?
I'm not necessarily against it. I mean, honestly, them having the first round bye is their best chance of them even being in the quarterfinals, if you ask me, because Arizona State was playing against Texas in this first round. They would be on the first Spirit flight back to Arizona. I also think the same for Boise State. If they were playing Penn State in that first game, they'd be on that. I feel like Penn State's run defense would be a little bit better than anything they've seen. And I'm not sold on Boise State throwing that ball at all. So,
is Penn State's run defense better than Oregon's? Because, I mean...
Probably.
I don't know.
You think so?
I don't know if Oregon has any defense. I'm not going to lie.
God. I think they got
I won't say any defense. I think Oregon has solid. I would say Penn State's... I think Penn State's run defense...
I think my parents called me. I think my parents called me last Saturday and told me my little brother scored a touchdown against Oregon. So I don't even, they let Penn State put up 37 points. I don't know. I'm not too sold because I'm not that sold on Penn State's offense for sure.
That's real.
I mean, yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I was shocked Penn State's offense put up 37.
I think it's been loading up. They finally just did. They executed. So
they both ran the ball very well. I'm not gonna
lie. We'll get to see what it's really about later. But of course, I think the biggest thing is, well, like you were just saying, that is their best chance to make it to the quarterfinals. But that's not what this is about. It's not about me giving you the best opportunity to make it to the second round. It's about giving you a chance to be in the playoff. Now, what you do with that chance is up to you. So I think in the future, hopefully, prayerfully, we just see an all-out change. Stick to the top 4 seeds. The top 4 seeds that you have ranked get a bye. Conference champions, they can get in, but you will be ranked on the lower end if you aren't already in. So that would put Clemson at a 12, Arizona at seed 11, SMU. They would stay where they are because Boise State's already in, and they be at 9. I think that's fair. That's how it should go. I think reseeding is cool, but I think if you do it that way, nobody's tripping off reseeding. Because then at that point, it's like the March Madness.
It's less to get upset. Yeah, it's less to get upset about. I do think if you do if you properly, it'd be more NFL like. I guess is what I want to say.
No, yeah, if you reseed, it's more NFL like. I don't have a problem with the reseeding. I just think that's probably a lofty goal to expect them to do the right thing. And
do it twice.
Top 4 rankings and then
reseed too.
The reseeding. Yeah. I think they'll think they're doing too much of a favor to those top 4 seeds.
Yeah.
Which considering you're making the season longer and all of this and all of that, I think you could give them that. But I'm not mad at it either way because at the end of the day, the 5 seed should beat the 12 seed, and it'll match up on the college landscape. Considering that's how March Madness is, nobody's reseeding in March Madness.
The only thing I would say, if we're gonna backtrack about like the auto bid aspect, obviously this has more been from like SEC coaches mostly recently. South Carolina, Alabama, and Ole Miss, obviously because they're upset that they didn't get in. They're feeling like we're going to call a spade. Every SEC as a conference is better than other conferences, top to bottom. Typically, it's harder to play in this conference. So to get an auto bid is probably like frustrating for them to get like a top tier seed and whatnot and guarantee yourself in the playoffs. Whereas if it was just we finna rank these dudes top 12, like the top 12 teams get in, that probably aligns with them better. But I think that's annoying because it's like at the end of the day, don't lose games. And it's not like and hearing stuff like, all right, we're just gonna schedule easy games out of conference so we can load it. Like, bro, you ran through your out of conference schedule this year. Like it was the in conference games that you lost, and you lost to teams uncharacteristically that you should not have lost to. Like I get it. Like other conferences are probably a lot easier and whatnot, but I don't. Yeah. I didn't like the way that sounded from some of these athletic directors or coaches and the commissioner. Honestly,
yeah, it sounded very salty, sort of loserish. But I think their verbiage was not great. Bad verbiage, bad word choice, bad attitude, but bad tone. But correct point. I think overall the only point is no conference champion and no conference are rated equal. They're not equal. Just because you won your conference, that don't make you just as great as the other conference champion. It doesn't. Just because you only lost 1 game, 2 games, no games in your conference doesn't make you better than the team that lost 1 game or 2 games in their conference. I think we can talk about this at next week or later this week. What we would like to change about the college playoff committee, and we can go specifically with their criteria on one episode. But plain and simple, they have to take strength of schedule into more account, and that is what eliminates the gripes of the SEC, the Big Ten. I don't see why they would have a gripe. I mean, y'all got 4 teams in. But as far as the SEC, y'all do have to take strength of schedule into more account. I think I'm not going to argue for SMU to be out over Alabama. But when you look at the ACC and Clemson sat there and lost 3 games, and 2 of those games were in conference.
Yep.
And then you look at SMU.
And they lost 1 to out of conference game.
Right. SMU, you guys played none of the top dogs in your conference. But you still lost 1 game in conference, and it was to Clemson, who lost 2 games in conference. So I think you have to look at that and be like, hey, SMU, they made it to the conference championship. Who did they play in their conference? How good was their conference schedule? How good was their schedule overall? It wasn't that great. It definitely was not competing with Alabama's schedule. I wouldn't have had a problem if they put Alabama in over SMU, personally, just because I'm more of a strength of schedule guy. I think Alabama should not have lost to Oklahoma, which puts it into question. But at the end of the day, you lost in the conference champion, and you didn't play any of the top 4 teams in your conference for real. So when we're looking at where the conference is right now, you didn't play any of the top 4 teams. Or top 3 teams, rather. So when you finally did, you lost. But we'll leave it at that, and we'll come back to that at a later date. But that is gonna be it. That is gonna be it for us here at the Saturday Sanctuary. We will catch y'all later on. Make sure you guys tap in with us. Keep y'all entertained leading up to these games. We got a week off. Well, you can watch the Army-Navy game this week, but the bowl games do not start until next weekend, December 20th. So you got a little time. Catch up on some college basketball, some of your shows. If you want to be into the NFL, I personally think it can be kind of boring, but whatever. It's scripted, but sure. Have a good time at it. Patrick Mahomes is going to win it all. I can ruin it for you guys. Patrick Mahomes is going to win it all. But
week.
Ruined it. Sorry. Hate to ruin it. Patrick Mahomes is going to win it all. They're going to make us feel like somebody's going to win it. Patrick Mahomes is going to win it all. He's probably going to win it all off of a roughing the passer call. Probably. But that is going to be it here at the Saturday Sanctuary. Y'all have a good week. We'll holler at y'all later.
Peace.